welcome back to my channel. I'm back with a reading vlog. Today is the 25th, Thursday, and as I said, we are back with a reading vlog. And I know, like, it seems weird to start a reading vlog, like, basically at the end of the week, but that's where I started the last vlog, because that's when I wanted to last time, when I actually felt like I wanted to actually do this, and I really enjoyed how I did that. It might be a little bit more different because I am reading multiple books at the moment, and that plans to be the way it goes. But that being said, I thought I would introduce you to the 3 books that I am starting. The first two are books I am reading in the format of audiobook, and the first one is Everyone Knows You, Go Home by Natalia Sylvester, and this is about Isabel, who meets her father-in-law Omar at her wedding, on her wedding day to Martin, his son, and he's an apparition, but Martin and his family wants nothing to do with him, are very unforgiving towards him, and every day on the Day of the Dead, which also happens to be their wedding anniversary, he shows up trying to get Isabel to help him reunite with his family, and through Isabel and Omar talking, she starts to learn more about their past, what happened, and along the way also Eduardo, Martin's young nephew, teenage nephew, shows up, who has crossed the Mexican border and is now taking refuge with them. So I just started this yesterday. I listened about it an hour ago, and I'm learning some things about, like, how this works. So, like, if you remember Coco, but it's more different than that, I think. This is like, they just kind of, like, go away if everybody, like, you know, like they permanently die. Or maybe he does. He didn't really say that. He just said that he can't go to them if they don't have any kind of longing for him. So, anyways, so far I'm very interested in it, and again, I will talk more about my thoughts on that when I get to the 50% mark. The next book that I am listening to is Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi, and this is the first book in a series, duology, trilogy, I don't know. But either way, this is about Zélie, who is part of the family of Magi, I believe, and magic has disappeared from the world, and the Crown Prince is trying to eradicate everybody who has any ties or has any type of magic in them. And Zélie teams up with the princess in order to bring back magic. And so we get both Zélie's and the princess's perspective. I forget her name right now. So I am already, like, very much intrigued by this story. I am very much looking forward to continuing on with it. And yes, I really have no thoughts right now because I just barely started it, but I will talk about it again, like I said with the other one, when I get to 50% mark. I am also starting Cinderella is Dead by Kalynn Bayron. This is Cinderella has been dead for 200 years, and now teen girls are forced to go to the ball each year, I believe, where men of the kingdom select their wives based on their beauty instead, as I believe, on the girls' display of finery. And in this story, we have 60-year-old Sophia, who really just wants to be with Aaron, her childhood best friend, And so instead of letting this happen, she runs away, and she ends up meeting Constance, the last known descendant of Cinderella, and her stepsisters, and together they vow to bring down the king once and for all, and in the process they learn that there's more to Cinderella's story than they ever knew. So I'm very much looking forward to starting this, and yeah, I'll update you when I'm able. So, same day, and I am back to update you. I am 50% through Cinderella is Dead, and although I'm really enjoying this story, and this twist on the Cinderella tale, it is very predictably YA. Like, she escapes from the ball, meets Constance, and it's automatically like, constantly like, oh, she's over here, what? I'm just like, dude, first off, just a minute ago, I thought you were in love with this other girl, and now all of a sudden, you can't keep your eyes off of this girl, and why are you even able to even be thinking this when you're just desperately trying to stay alive? Like, give me a break. It doesn't make any sense. It is very predictable, YA in that way. But the story overall is very fascinating. Like, I would have preferred just for like a romance to be hinted at. I think there's another book in this. So, like, she could have just easily, like, hinted at there being possibly a romance, and, like, once these two friendships, like, had at least been established at some point, like, you don't even know her. You don't even know if you can trust her. I don't really feel it's believable that she was so easily to trust the story that she told about the true story about Cinderella and the family so easily. Like, I get that she did have doubts about it, but, like, you grew up in this situation where you are being told one thing, and even though she didn't fully believe it, I don't think that she would have so easily just bought into the story, especially because we were told, like, earlier that she doesn't trust people, like, when it comes to, like, I get it because, like, Luke is a guy, and she's a gal, maybe that's the difference, but, like, it's not that much of a difference, especially because she's somebody that's outside from Lil, and you don't know her from Adam's Fall Babble. So, like, if she's somebody that doesn't trust very easily and questions people, why would she trust the story so easily? Like, this author isn't able to convince me on that part, but I am, like, enjoying the story overall. Like, right now, it's getting, like, a 3 stars. And I would read the sequel, if there's a sequel to this, so. Today is Friday, the next day, and I have finished Cinderella is Dead by Kalynn Bayron. And as I was saying previously, this very much reads like a YA. It's just a little bit, everything is just a little bit too convenient, a little bit too fastly developed. And I will, like, the romance, there was really no romance. Like, we're supposed to believe that these two fell for each other, but they barely knew each other 5 seconds. Like, they only, like, met each other, like, a week before, and all of a sudden they're in love. Which it's not believable for me. And also the fact that she's running for her life, but she has time to go be all goo eyes over her. Like, I'm sorry, but anybody who is running for their life isn't going to be thinking about that. It just doesn't make sense to me that would be a thing. So there's just, like, a lot of convenient moments, a lot of things that just seem to happen too easily, and I think either this book needed to be a little bit longer, or just, like, it just needed to be developed more. Like, there just needed to be more to this story. Like, I enjoyed the plot and everything, but I think that it would have been better if we could have had, like, I know that some people say that this is over-explained, like, the issues, the societal issues and everything, yes, like, it was very much hitting you over the head, but I think, like, if we took time, because it just felt like everything just happened too quickly and just a little bit too easily for me. But yeah, I mean, this was, like, definitely very much YA. It hits all the cliche marks. I would be interested to see if this author actually grows in their writing and writes a little bit more of a complex story that veers away from the predictable YA. So if anybody knows that, I would love to hear, because like a lot of the things that were in this book I actually really enjoyed. I just think that it could have been handled differently and I would have enjoyed it a lot more. So then I gave this 3 stars. Okay, so I'm back now with an update, but I forgot to tell you what I'm going to be reading next. Since I'm done with Cinderella, is that I will be starting 3 books. I am currently reading 1, and so I'll talk about what that is, because I don't remember if I mentioned this earlier or not, but I am currently reading through audiobook, Everybody Knows You Go Home by Natalia Sylvester. I feel like I have actually, so I'm not going to talk about what it is about, so I'm hoping that I did, but I'm not 15% through, so I won't talk about my thoughts. Say that I just got to a very interesting part in that book, but I really need to like pick up the pace with my library books, but I still want to be reading my own book, especially because I started my reread of the Lord of the Rings series on the whole. As you saw in my previous vlog, I read The Hobbit, so I want to actually get started with that. So I will be reading The Fellowship of the Ring, which I think we all know what this is about, and I'm also very much excited for the new series that's coming out. I saw the trailer, I just watched the trailer, and I'm very much looking forward to watching that. But yes, I want to read this. And then I will also be picking up The Gilded Ones by Namina Forna, and this is about, what's her name? Deka, who's 16 years old, and if I remember correctly, it's like there's a test where like to see what your color your blood is, and if your blood is gold, it's unclean. And so like Deka is already kind of an outcast in her community, I believe, because of her intuition. Is it intuition or something else? Yeah, her unnatural intuition. And so she's really hoping that it comes back red instead of gold, but instead it's gold. And then a mysterious woman shows up to her village and says that she can either stay here and deal with the consequences of the color of her blood, or go with her to train as warriors to fight with... Is there something on my eye? Or is it like... Okay. Or she can go with, and protect and save the world with them. And of course, obviously the book couldn't be the book if she didn't go off and do that. So I'm very much looking forward to this, and I will obviously talk more about it when I get to the 50% mark. But also, this book finally came into the library. So I will be continuing on with my read through of everything Star Wars with Revenge of the Sith, the last book in the prequel trilogy when it comes to the movies and such. So this is a novelization of that film, which, I have issues with how that trilogy handled Padme, and the fact that she's basically, she doesn't have no agency. She's just there for the sake of Anakin, and just like some of the things, like it's very interesting because these are written by like different authors. So like I've read Attack of the Clones, Phantom of the Menace, then Attack of the Clones, and then the Clone Wars, which is the novelization of the animated film. So, but each author has a different perspective and point of view, and opinion when it comes to Anakin and also Padme, and it's like very interesting to see the little differences that they all have when it comes to their opinions. The Clone Wars came the closest to what I believe when it comes to Anakin, especially. But none of the books really do a good job when it comes to Padme, which I think because it's a novelization, so they have to like make it fit within what was in the films. so I kind of like give them the benefit of the doubt. Like in the second book, they did try. They at least gave her a perspective, but I still don't feel like it always could do better. So now I don't have high hopes when it comes to this one, especially just because we all know what happens here. So I'm just like, I don't know. And obviously this book is written by a man, so I just don't have high hopes. But I am very much looking forward to continuing on with this. I just went and tried to request the next book, which is A New Hope. And I thought, oh no, I'm gonna have to either buy this book or I'm just gonna have to skip it. And thankfully, what happened is that not only is this book a ghostwriter, so actually George Lucas actually writes the book, but it was ghostwritten. It's his story, but it was ghostwritten by Alan D. Foster. It's like different, I guess, than these authors actually wrote the book. I don't really know how that fully works, but either way, so it got really confused when I was trying to look it up. Thankfully, I was able to request that book, and I don't have to go and buy them, because I don't want to be buying a bunch of books right now. I can't be wasting money on that. I love books, but like right now, that are not my top priority, so I'm very much utilizing my library, which I'm very glad and grateful that exists. But anyways, those are the books, that, I think I mentioned this in the previous vlog, but when it comes to Star Wars books, if I get them, they're gonna jump the line no matter what. Like, I just literally said that I need to, like, move on when it comes to my books, from the library, but, like, this is always gonna jump the line. Yeah, those are all the books I was reading. I will update you again when I get to the halfway point in these books. I will see you in that chicken then. Hey guys, today is Tuesday, and I don't know, I can't remember what I said about like what I was reading next and whatnot. I think I may have said like something about reading multiple books at the same time, which I am not doing anymore because like my brain just can't handle that. Other than like audio, like reading a book through audio is a little bit different, so I'm hoping to be still doing that because I am in the middle of Everybody Knows You Go Home, and I haven't been listening to that for a bit, so I need to get back into that. But my main focus has been The Gilded Ones by Namina Forna, and I'm halfway through this one, and I am very much into this book. I will say that part of it is frustrating, mainly not in a bad way. It's just frustrating because of like the religious aspect of this. Not like the author is being religious, but like the people in the book are like there's like this whole religious bullshit going on, and having to see Deka have to endure that, but also seeing her kind of like deal with the aftermath and realizing that the things that they like brainwashed her into believing weren't true, and unlearning that a little bit. I think like sometimes it's like because time kind of goes a little bit by, like obviously like the author is trying to get to a certain point, and so can't fully stay in those moments, but like I wish that we could see more of the, I almost feel like I want to call it deprogramming, but like the unlearning process that she goes through when it comes to what she knew and believed and what she's learning that is the actual truth of things. But like there's a lot of things that we're realizing, like I'm like, are like there's something about the Death Streets that I'm just not sure of, because why can she do what she can do? Anyways, there's a lot of things that are going on in this book that I am like, is making me anxious, but I'm also just like really loving this book. And Deka is a great character, and White Hands and Britta are like, these characters are just, and I'm just wondering what is going to go on, what's happening with these characters. Anyways, I can see this being a 4 to 5 stars depending on how this ends. So today is Wednesday, and I have an update, which is that I finished The Golden Ones by Namina Forna, and yesterday I told you that I was like 200 pages in, and I was hoping that today would be the day that I finished the last half of the book, but I stayed up till like almost 11 o'clock finishing this book because so much were happening, too much was happening. Like last night, I was like, oh, I'll just continue reading, find a reading, someone with doing reading sprints and just like start reading. When the reading sprints were done, I was like, maybe like 30 to 60 pages to the end. I was like, I just gotta finish it. So I stayed up so freaking late to finish this book, which is not something I typically do because I can just like stop reading and go to sleep because like I'm not somebody who stays up late. I don't like staying up late. But this book just had me in its grip, and I had to know what was going to happen to Deka and Britta and Keitha and Bikalis, and there was this reveal that like broke my heart because knowing this really changes everything that happens. And it's just like really so I absolutely loved this book. I gave it 4.5 stars. Wasn't like perfect. I think that this book falls into the YA trap of like always needing a romance, which for me, particularly with this book, like it wasn't like heavy-handed and everything. Like it wasn't like the romance was like the central or like anything like that. But like my issue with it is that these girls and women have been tortured and been treated so badly by men and continue to be so in this situation that I just don't see see Deka or anyone really trusting men as fast as it felt like it did. But although I know that there is time that goes by, it's just that I didn't really feel like we got to see her go through that process of having to actually know that she can trust him. Like throughout this whole book, it felt like that was the process, and so I feel like we should have just not have a romance at all, or because there is a second book, have that romance be developed in the next book. I just don't really see the point of there being a romance, especially because it just doesn't make sense when it comes to how much trauma these people have gone through because of men. Like, I think it would take a lot to trust, especially because of that. But anyways, also, it used the phrase, I let out the breath I didn't know, which, it was a one-time thing, so I'm letting it go, but it's like one of those things that takes me out of reading. And for some reason, it feels like it's very much a YA thing for authors to do. I don't know why. And she tended to use there's these two phrases that she would use over and over again, and it wouldn't be a big deal, but it became very much noticeable by the time I got halfway through the book. So it's just those are just I guess kind of nitpicky moment things, but it was something that did take me out of the reading, because they were just so frustrating. So the only real issue I have is the romance. I just didn't really feel like we needed. I will say because it kind of jumps time a little bit, we could also say that might be a bit of an issue for people. Did this author give enough time for these moments and reveals and stuff? I'm not really 100% sure. I really just enjoyed what I was getting. There is a sequel, and the thing about that is we could read this book and read it as a standalone if we wanted to. I love this book so much that I'm going to read this sequel, but I'm trying to figure out what there needs to be a sequel for. But we shall see. I'm hoping that by reading that it doesn't ruin my experience of the first book. But we shall see. Anyways, it's gonna be a while before I get that book anyways, because I'm third in line for it. But either way, I enjoyed it. Like I said, I gave it 4.5 stars. And now, today, hopefully, I will be finishing Everybody Knows You, Go Home, and I will talk about that when I have finished it today, what my thoughts are on that. Right now, I think I will just give you a little bit of initial thoughts because I'm 38% in, so I'm just going to come do this halfway point thoughts. I am enjoying it. It's maybe if I was reading it physically, it would be different, but I just don't feel compelled to pick it up. There's some reveals about the father that is like, that I just don't understand how he doesn't. I mean, I think he understands, but at the same time, I don't think he understands why they don't want to see him. I think he knows like the initial reason, but like, does he understand why they wouldn't want to see him, knowing that you had time for this person, but not time for your own family? Like, I don't know. Either way, there's like, it's talking about undocumented immigration, what it's like to have to cross the border in that way, and what their experiences are once they get into America, to the U.S., and also when it comes to like Isabel seeing a ghost and what's that like for her. Like, there's like all these like little interesting elements, but like some of us made me think of one thing, but that's the people who write in the synopsis fault, because I don't really feel like he's telling his story, and I feel like at this point, like, I feel like we're 38% in. I feel like we need to be getting somewhere with this story, but we are getting somewhere with another aspect of the story, which is the story of Eduardo, their nephew, coming to them, and in that it kind of like helps tell them some things about Omar, but we're seeing Eduardo is kind of like the aftermath of the trauma of having to go through that crossing, and all the other things that are happening because, surrounding this. So yeah, it's kind of like a 3-ish stars right now, but then I have been distracted by a lot of other books. I will talk about what I'll be reading after that once I get done with this. I'm trying to decide if I want to focus on my library books, or do I want to continue my reread of The Lord of the Rings. Don't know yet. We shall see. So I just tried to start Uzumaki. I'm still listening to the other book, but I wanted to, while I'm out and waiting for something, to read this. And then, yeah, I knew it was horror, but I didn't realize how bad I was going to get. This is where I stopped at. If I can get this book to cooperate with it. Like, no, I'm not here for that. I don't like bugs. Creeps me the hell out. Like, I don't, like, if this wasn't, like, visual, maybe I would be able to, like, endure it a little bit, but because I have to, like, see the pictures of it, it's just... So if you like graphic novels, manga, and horror, this is for you. Not for me. So I probably should have known better, but I'm here to try things, so I thought I would try it. Sadly, it didn't work. So I did it. I finished Everyone Knows You Go Home by Natalia Sylvester, and this is a book that I'm not really sure about it. I feel like part of this is because of the audiobook. The audiobook sounded kind of clunky. It was like you'd have like several sentences, and then like there would be like a pause, which was just really weird and disruptive to the reading process. But like the story itself was interesting. I think when it comes to this aspect of it, I think Isabel's perspective was a detriment to the story. I didn't fully understand the point of her story, really. I mean, like, it was interesting to see how trauma can impact a marriage, or the generational trauma and such. But like, the frustrating part of this is that I loved hearing about Omar and Elda's story and Eduardo's story, and I wish that this story was told through their perspective completely instead of Isabel, who seemed kind of ignorant about things. But also what frustrated me was that it, like, even the book, in reading it, it seems like we're supposed to believe that Isabel's being visited by this ghost of Omar, who is the father of her husband that she just married, and she is visited by him trying to convince her. But like and through it, we're hearing his and Elda's story and such, And I'm just here being like, okay, but like, we didn't really even need that, because it just didn't feel like it played that much a part in the story, other than like moments where she had a question. But even in those moments when she was asking questions about it, he never actually even answered those questions. We got them in his actual perspective more so than anything else. And so because of that, I just didn't understand the point of this whole, you know, ghost person coming back in that way. Like, it just didn't seem to really impact anything, have any use or meaning to the story in any real way. Like, I get like it's kind of like the driving force, like to like her asking questions to Martin and everything, but like Eduardo, who is Martin's nephew or cousin, shows up, and like that in itself would have been enough of like a place for her to like be wondering like why. So like, I just don't really, I don't know how, if I'm explaining this right. It feels like, why did we have this part of even be there when there's so much that we could be dealing with, and it got kind of pushed to the side through the story. And so I just like, we could have just had Omar and Elda's perspective and Eduardo's perspective, and I would have been very much happy. We didn't even get Eduardo's perspective, but I would have liked a perspective from him, and that would have been great. I don't see the point. I don't understand the point of Omar the ghost. So I give this 3 stars. It's really disappointing because I really wanted to enjoy this book, and there's a lot to the story that actually I think is good. It's just, it didn't go the way that I was hoping for. Also, I just realized that tomorrow is Thursday, which means that this is like the last day of the vlog. So I will end it here. Thank you all so much for watching. But before I actually go away, let me just talk about the fact that I finished 3 books this week, I believe, I would say. I need to do better about making sure that I'm keeping track of what books are part of each week, so that I know, so I know the numbers for each week, so when I talk about this part. So we read Cinderella is Dead, Everyone Knows You Go Home, and The Gilded Ones. So that's 3 books, and only one of them was not the most enjoyable book for me. But either way, a really good, strong week. Had a bit of a dip in my reading mood a little bit, but hopefully it's staying steady because I really want to keep reading. I have so many books I want to read right now, and it just needs to stay. But anyways, again, thank you all so much for watching. I would love to hear if you read any of these books, what you've been reading yourself, and until next time, ciao.